Well, hello, Daily Dosers. My name is Steven Beyer, and I'm on the creative video team here at church, which means I'm a lot more used to being on the other side of the camera when it comes to these. But when we started going through our favorite Jesus stories, I couldn't help but want to join into the action. You see, I grew up in a very traditional church, which means when going through the scriptures, and particularly the stories of Jesus in the Gospels, I tended to read it through a very dry lens. And it wasn't until recently that I read this book by John Eldredge called A Beautiful Outlaw that I had my perspective on Jesus radically changed. You see, when going through this book, you get a fresh look on these stories in the gospel. You get context and background, and if you interpret these stories and put them together, it really gives these profound implications on who Jesus was and what it meant for Jesus to be fully man. It meant that he laughed, he cried, and he even joked. And that's actually what I want to focus on here today, is the playfulness of Jesus. And there's one story in particular that I think does this actually really well. But before we get there, let's get a little backstory. And Trent actually just talked on this story. It was when Jesus was first beginning his ministry, and he's at the Sea of Galilee. He looks out, and there's a couple of fishermen. They've been out on the boat all night, and they haven't caught anything. He tells them to try the other side, and the catch is so big that they start sinking both of the boats. And what a crazy story this is. I don't know about you, but I love fishing. It's one of my favorite activities to do when I go back and visit family in the Midwest. And one of the best parts of fishing is to be able to tell the stories. And you can just picture the disciples telling this story again and again. You can almost see them razzing Simon and be like, "You should have seen your face when Jesus had all those fish in the boat." This would come up again and again because it's such an incredible story. So keep that in mind as we now flash forward and we turn to John chapter 21. And so Jesus has just been crucified. He's gone. The disciples are lost, and they don't know what to do. So that's where we pick up the story. Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and the two other disciples were together. "I'm going out to fish," Simon Peter told them. And they said, "We'll go with you." So they went out and got into the boat. But that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Does this story sound familiar? It should. I think it's really incredible. Jesus has literally just conquered sin, death, and the power of the devil in the greatest feat that has ever happened in the history of the world. And how does he announce himself to the disciples? Not with some crazy parade, but by telling an inside joke. You see, they've seen this story before, and Jesus just saw it as another opportunity to be intimate and connect with his disciples. I think this is so cool and gives us insight into who Jesus is. I found this really impacting my own personal relationship. This Jesus that I'm reading about doesn't feel so far away. He's very easy to connect to, and it just builds upon this relationship that I have with him. Now, I don't want you to lose the awe and wonder and fear that you get every time that you crack open this Bible and when you go to church on Sunday. But how cool is it that the same God, who is the creator of the universe, the most powerful, omnipotent being in all of everything, is the same God that tells you inside jokes? I hope that's encouraging to you as you further your relationship with Jesus and continue to grow in intimacy with him. Have a great day, church. See you tomorrow.